Hey, bestie, and welcome back to the Plobcast podcast. Just a quick disclaimer and reminder that this podcast is not for little ears. There's no community guidelines or censorship or monetization on this podcast, so I get to be brutally, bluntly honest without any censorship, so definitely not for the little ones to hear. This episode, we are going to talk about the Final Fantasy VII cult. We're going to talk about some of the GameStop stories that were sent in to me, go into more details, because we did cover a few on TikTok this week, but there's a lot more details that I could not post on there. We're also I have a special Dami story of my own Peggy Sue that I encountered that we're going to be talking about. And lastly, we are going to cover some event safety, con safety, fandom safety, some advice to find yourself in fandom. Fandom is a massive thing. There's a lot of people in it, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens. I don't ever want anybody to feel like they can't go into fandom space or they can't enjoy it because of one crappy group or some of these stories of these unhinged people, because there are safe and showered groups that actually wash their ass and don't jerk off to little anime figures that look like 12-year-olds. I also quickly want to apologize for the fact that it has 2 episode 1s on some of the streaming services. I don't really know how a lot of this works. I use Podbean to distribute to all of them. I know for some reason some services got episode 1 twice, even though it is the same episode. This is the actual episode 2. Let's jump right in with the Final Fantasy VII Cult House, though, because the fact that this is real life is actually insane. If you don't know, I actually covered another cult that was ran just last year, at the end of the year, by a large content creator that has wronged a lot of people. I ended up having a friend that joined her little cult, and she does a lot of the same stuff that happened in Final Fantasy VII cult, which is why some people were like, why does this feel so familiar? It's because a lot of the stuff is the same as the Final Fantasy VII cult, with the whole soul bonding and her having a higher power, and also them getting evicted from the nasty dirty department. So if you have not seen the pictures from the Final Fantasy VII cult house, I believe it's vice.com has the pictures up still, with details of the story too, but we're going to go over some details here. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to jump through whatever you're listening to this on and show you the pictures, which is probably a good thing because you're not going to want to eat after seeing them. So, many years ago, there was a situation where Final Fantasy VII was massive. If you don't know, a lot of people consider it the best game in the franchise. A lot of people were obsessed with it. It was massive. But it also brought along massively problematic people. That's the nicest way I can say it. Crazy people. Brought along a lot of crazy people. So during all of this madness, a group of, I believe it was 7, let me check. Yes, it was 7, ironically, Final Fantasy VII, and then 7 cult members that all lived in this house together, because I'm including the leader, because a lot of people will say 6 and the leader, but it's 7. There was 7 of these members. These were all grown adults. These weren't kids, these were adults. I think the youngest was like 19, but still, you're a grown adult. And their leader had convinced them that through soul bonding, they were the Final Fantasy characters, not, them cosplaying and or LARPing or something. These people genuinely believed they were the real life Final Fantasy characters, and their leader had convinced them that she could soul bond all of these people to turn them into the Final Fantasy characters. It ended up being an extremely toxic and abusive not just relationship, living situation, because they all moved into this one apartment together, basically sleeping on top of each other. If you go look at the pictures, it was a hoarding mess. There was also, for whatever reason, one of them was obsessed with glitter and had it everywhere. That is one of the big things that cost them a cleaning fee too, because it wasn't just the hoarding. There was glitter on everything for no reason. I believe it was Sid, the one who had said that they were reincarnated as Zack. That was their whole thing, soul bond, and then they are basically reincarnated as these Final Fantasy characters. But I believe it was them that was putting the glitter everywhere. People constantly complained about it. It's like, what in the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you just spreading glitter everywhere? That is the biggest pain in the ass thing to get out to. Like, I am the parent that allows slime and stuff to be in my house, which a lot of people are shocked by, but I also know how to get it out of the carpet and everything, like with my steamer. But I will not allow glitter because glitter is next level crazy. I'm gonna tell you right now, if someone ever gives you, as a parent or as a friend, gives you a gift with glitter in it, they don't like you, just so you know, because everyone knows how much glitter sucks. The only explanation I could come up with why she might have been, or he's, I'm not sure pronouns on there because I've seen different things about their pronouns. So it's not me trying to misgender somebody. I just genuinely don't freaking know at this point. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because she was hoarding so much that she was like, oh, if I put glitter on it, it'll look fancy and not like a complete pigsty that needs to be condemned. Maybe if I make the roaches, give them a little makeover with some glitter, they won't be as bacteria ridden, nasty little bugs. You know, if I just put glitter on them, it's fine, right? They did eventually get, evicted, got kicked out, and the cult ended there. From what I know, they kind of all split up after that. I have no idea any updates on that. I tried to search. I think they have all, not been on social media for a reason. They probably don't. It's kind of like the Sharpie bathtub. I've never been able to find that girl, and I went to the con when that happened. If you don't know, back in the day, Homestuck was really big. Is animated series, and the fans were doing crazy stuff, and there was a fan who went to a hotel bathroom, put Sharpies in the bathtub to dye their skin gray for their cosplay. Completely ruined the bathtub. I think the bill the hotel sent them was like over $1,500. Back to the Final Fantasy stuff though. The saddest part about it is Final Fantasy VII. That wasn't the only crazies. They were not the only ones in that. They were the only ones running like a cult in their apartment. But there was people acting just as insane within the fandom too. I talked a little bit about this on TikTok, but my first, it's not my very first, but one of my first professional cosplay modeling jobs when I was a teenager, back when they still hire teenagers. They don't anymore for safety reasons because of plobs and incels, like, will try to lay their hands on people. I'll get into that in a second. But I had went to this photo shoot. It was a bunch of us. There was like multiples of each character because they did this like big photo shoot that was supposed to be like a revamp campaign, just like marketing, like, hey, look, anybody and everybody can play. It's for everybody. And there were two guys and one girl that was there out of, I think it was like the 30 something of us. And I remember they were acting as if they were in character, and I was really confused. I was like, maybe it's like method acting, because we're not supposed to be in character. That's not a requirement for this job. We're just doing a photo shoot. So I thought maybe it was just like method acting until we got done with the photo shoot. We go and, trying to go about our day, and these three are still acting like the character. And you would ask them about it, and they would be like, no, I really am the character. I'm doing this because I am them. I'm the embodiment. I'm reincarnated as them. And I just sat there like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Because these were grown adults once again, and I was a teenager at this time. I didn't even drive. I wasn't even young, or so I wasn't even old enough to drive. Okay, like my mom is picking me up, and I'm trying to figure out how the fuck I have more mental stability than these three adults who had convinced themselves they were the characters. One of the Riku cosplayers literally got upset. The one that, was convinced that she really was Riku was going on and on about how she was upset that there were other people in this freaking marketing campaign photo shoot dressed in her outfit because she was the only real Riku. Ma'am, the only thing real here is the level of mental illness going on in your head that you've convinced yourself you're a real life anime character. And I want to do a quick disclaimer. None of these people had DID. This was not a situation where someone had dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personalities. That's not what was going on here. These were just people that were that freaking obsessed with Final Fantasy VII. I've seen this in My Hero Academia too a lot. That's like, it reminds me a lot of that fandom. I want nothing to do with that fandom. If you don't know, I've had to deal with crazy people obsessed with those characters and going beyond. I covered a little bit at my first video, my first podcast. I've also covered it in video before. My biggest mistake in my career doing modeling for cosplay and ad campaigns and stuff in cosplay is doing a ad for the My Hero Academia game. I did Inko, which is Deku's mom, and it's like a 30-second ad that I got hired to do in cosplay. And it's been up for years. It was in like 2021, but it's still on their official verified page on TikTok. And it's so embarrassing because that rocket launched me into the fandom space. And even though I love My Hero, Shigaraki, I'm obsessed. Spinner, I'm obsessed. Mr. Compress, like, look, I got issues, okay? So I'm always obsessed with villains. Leave me alone. At least I'm not stupid or crazy enough to think that they're real people and like dox people over them and stuff. If you haven't seen that story, I literally had a almost 50-year-old woman with kids who doxed me, made up lies and rumors about me and stuff because she got upset that Eric Vale, the voice actor for Shigaraki, had sent me a custom voice message for my birthday in Shigaraki's voice, and she like lost her shit over that. She was that jealous, and I'm like, it's a fucking fictional character. She would even get mad because vendors recognize me sometimes as the Shigaraki simp, like, because I always collect all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I recognize that that's a fictional character. I fully recognize that as a fictional character. That is not a real person. And some people don't. Like, I recently did a video talking about that fictosexual girl, who, fictosexual is not a thing. The fact that you guys made a pride flag and everything for it too is absolute insanity. Fictosexual is not a thing. You have a mental health condition. You have objectophilia or just a weird parasocial, but either way, that's not a thing. You need to get help when you are literally trying to, like, it's very much like the people who are marrying amusement park rides. There was a lady who married a roller coaster. There was a guy who married a hologram of Miku. There's another one that apparently married the purple pony, Rarity, I think is her name, from My Little Pony. That's mental illness. That is straight up mental illness. Okay, it's one thing to simp and be a super fan. You know, Sigaraki's my hyperfixation as an autistic person. It was Seto Kaiba when I was younger, but never, ever okay to be crossing that line where you are doing inappropriate stuff with these figures and pictures and body pillows in public. I'll never forget, I've seen multiple guys when I go to cons who carry around hentai body pillows of their waifus and shit and get weird about it. I once had a guy, it was actually at MomoCon, which is coming up. I'm going to be at again. And if you see me there, don't forget, 1, I'm short. 2, I'll post in my story where I'm at for the day and what I'm wearing. And 3, I have little goodie bags for everybody. I am also going to be placing miniature purple ducks around the entire con. If you find one, I hope you do. And make sure to post a picture and let me know and tag me if you find any of the little purple ducks. But I also have my Mutuals goodie bag, which is a custom. I had a commissioned art and stuff on this bag that I keep all kinds of little goodies for mutuals and followers, whoever sees me. Also, I will be printing off multiple of the Plob Patrol t-shirt stickers for anybody who wants to put them on, completely free. I'm just going to bring a bunch with me. I'm going to print a bunch off my Cricut. I'm going to do the sticker kind, not the iron-on, because I do have a to-go iron-on, but the sticker kind's easier. That way, and if anybody at the con wants to be part of the Paw Patrol for that day, they can have it for free. But back to the creepy guy with the body pillow at MomoCon. We went over to, if you've never been, in the CNN Center and stuff, there is a food court, right? There's a food court across the street, and we went over to it. It's like a government building or whatever, CNN Center, something. I can't remember what the exact building the food court's in is named, but it's a food court. We were in there, and there was a guy we saw with a body pillow who sat at a 2-seater table. He sat in one chair, he put the body pillow in the other, and was feeding the body pillow. Literally, he bought 2 meals. The dude bought 2 meals and was feeding the body pillow food off of the tray, getting it all dirty and nasty, and then was like wiping it and was being, and like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm nosy. I'm nosy. My neighbor, who is Mexican, constantly says that I am a chismosa and that she is also a chismosa and she loves it. So, and I will fully admit, I am nosy. I don't want to deal with, I don't want to be a part of any drama, but I do like to listen to it because sometimes it gets wild. So we scooted ourselves over to a table beside this man, and I kid you not, the guy had to be in about like 31, 32, and I don't recognize the character for the body pillow. I believe it was from Angel Beats. Let me look this up. So it was Yusa is her name, Y-U-S-I? Sorry, it's Y-U-S-A. From Angel Beats. I kid you not. Go look it up because you're going to see what I'm talking about. This character looks like she's 12. And according to Google, it says she's supposed to be 15 in the series, but she's reincarnated. So she's reincarnated at 15. So he's definitely one of those guys that argues, oh, but like her body looks like a kid, but she's technically an adult. Shut the fuck up, you nasty pedophile. Because that's what that is. That is pedophilia. If I feel so bad because there is a woman in real life. I've watched her story. She has a TLC show. I can't think of her name, but she has a condition that makes her look like a child. And her mom's even talked about this. The worry that because she is disabled, she is an adult, she deserves love. Everybody deserves to be loved. But her biggest concern is a lot of times if these guys are interested in her, they got to wonder, are they interested in her or are they pedophile trying to find a legal way to get around doing a child? Because she will always have the body of a child, and I feel so bad for her because she is such a sweetheart. She is a badass, loves tattoos. I've watched her stuff before. But she looks like a child. And it's one of those things where if you have to question why the guy is into her because she looks like a child. And sadly, there are a lot of them out there like that. Some of them have even came in my comments. I've had people send me videos of them. They will argue till they're blue in the face about like these anime characters who are literal children, have the bodies of children, and be like, but they're 3,000 years old, blah, blah, blah. That's my waifu. I also once saw a guy get into a fist, not too hard of a fist fight. He just got punched. And then the other guy started crying over these freaking characters too, because both of them had body pillows. And I don't even know what they were arguing about. This happened several years ago at AWA. I was like watching these two argue. I was with my group of friends, and one of them like punched the guy in the face, and the other one started crying and like went and got security or whatever, because they were arguing over their waifus, and they both had the same freaking waifu, but they had like different body pillows, but it was the same character. Both of those also looked like they were like freaking 10. Speaking of nasty pedophiles, I'm gonna say this might hurt some of your feelings, and I hope it fucking does if you relate to this. If you are one of those people who are waiting for the day that Piper turns 18 and hopes that she'll make an OnlyFans now that she's got involved with the Bop House, which I strongly disagree with. That was disgusting of those people, like the Bop House, to let her in. If you don't know, Piper is a 17. There's a whole documentary on her out right now about her mom exploiting her and everything, and exploiting other kids, and she's got like several million followers. And she is 17, she's about to be 18, and she went and collabed with the Bop House. If you don't know what the Bop House is, that is a house full of OF models, which I see nothing wrong with. I have a dominatrix OnlyFans. I'm just not very much on it anymore because I'm using it to save up to get my PhD, because I don't want any of those college loans. But here's the thing is there's a lot of stuff I refuse on there. That's why I don't make a lot of money on there, because I'll tell you right now, I have a lot of hard limits. I refuse to pretend to be a child and stuff, and that's a lot of the Bop House members. They give off this child. They're young, they're like barely legal, that's their whole brand, and make themselves look like they're underage. And they had a collab with Piper where, even though she is still 17, they did dance videos and stuff with her where she was in lingerie and less clothes than, like, she had a little lingerie top on and then mini shorts. She was wearing less than the adults in the video. And there you can see the comments. The comments men are leaving on there. They knew what they were doing. They knew what their fan base was. And there are a lot of people who are waiting till the day she turns 18. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care if she's suddenly legal, as you call it. You're a fucking pedophile if you're waiting for that shit. Because it does not matter that it 5 minutes ago, like 5 minutes before midnight, she's 17. And that the second she hits midnight, she's supposed to magically change and like be mature enough to be an adult and stuff. That's just not how it works. I hate that entire situation. And sadly, you do see a lot of that within fandom space too. There's a lot of spicy cosplayers who will do these spicy, cosplays on pages like OnlyFans with underage characters, and be like, oh, but I'm an adult body. Like the Belle Delphine situation where they try to make themselves look like a kid, though. That's where the problem comes about. It is one thing to be a spicy cosplayer and be doing adults and stuff, but once you start trying to make yourself look like a child, you are pedo baiting and you are just as bad as them and you know it. Ironically, there's a lot of people who are hypocrites in that section too. There was years ago, I posted this picture of Toga before I'd even seen My Hero Academia. I searched a picture, anime girl overheating or with a fan or something like that. And there was a picture of Toga from My Hero Academia in a tank top sitting in front of a fan. And I posted it and I was like, this is how the weather's got me feeling, because it was like 110 degrees that day. And I had somebody be like, oh, that's CP, you're posting CP. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, she's 16 in that photo. And I'm like, She's just sitting in front of a fan in a tank top. Why are y'all sexualizing that? And then I go and look, and one of the creators who made a video about me about this post, trying to be like, oh, you're posting CP, literally does OnlyFans, and I went and checked it out, and they have got them in cosplays of minor characters doing nasty stuff, and I'm like, the fucking hypocrisy here. While we're on that topic, too, I want to talk about how the whole sexualizing little girls and making it so, like, if the words, oh, such and such is coming over to our house, you can't wear a tank top or shorts. If you have to say that to your daughter or granddaughter or niece, whoever, they have to change clothes because a male relative or friend is coming over, even though they're just in a tank top and shorts because it's too hot. That friend or family member should not be your friend, and should not be coming over to your house at all, because it's disgusting. If you're sexualizing a little girl in shorts and tank top just because it's hot out, you're the gross one. I've had to cut off a friendship myself over that. Many years ago, I had my little nieces because they were over at my house, and the oldest one she was 13 at the time, and we were all outside barbecuing and stuff, and it was hot, and I had a friend who was like, oh, my boyfriend's coming over, can you ask them to cover up, because he's coming over, and I don't want him looking at them like that. She was like, I don't want him to be tempted to cheat with it. First of all, you're a grown-ass woman. Okay, you're a grown-ass woman with a grown-ass adult man who should not be looking at those little girls like that. And if he does, I'm gonna fucking castrate him and feed the damn his boner to the dog, because my nieces and no other little girl should have to sit there and overheat and change their clothes because they're in shorts and a tank top and it's hot outside because some pervert pedophile. Also, the fact that she looked at it like cheating, no, that's called rape. That's called statutory rape. It drives me insane anytime I see, even I've seen mothers do it too, get jealous of their own daughters because the men that they're dating are looking at their underage daughters a certain way. And I'm like, you should not be with that man. You also should never be in competition with your own child. That's fucking weird, sus behavior. I also want to remind everybody that this can also happen to little boys. Men can be victims too. For example, we had a situation with my friend's son a couple years ago he was in special education, and his teacher was doing inappropriate stuff, to put it easy. I know that's his story to tell, not mine, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but his teacher was crossing the line very much, even took him off campus one time to get him a coat, even though he had a coat, he had just forgotten it that day. She was also one of those ones who would be like, oh, you can't, he's autistic, so he can't learn that. Guess what? He lived with me for a year, and now he is doing all of the things that, those people said that he couldn't do, because I as an autistic person myself, and somebody in mental health research, I do not believe in the whole, they're autistic so they can't do it. No, they can do stuff. We can do things. We can learn. We just sometimes have to take a different route. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but we still get there. Like, he'd originally been told he was never, and this is not the only friend I have like this. I've helped several friends with their autistic children. He was told, he's never going to live on his own. He's never going to cook, never going to be able to read, never going to he's going to have monitoring 24/7. He was one of those people that had to have somebody all the time at school. He is now he's all but one of his classes are all regular classes. He has one special education class. He can walk himself. He can go into the gas station by himself and get stuff. He can't quite be left alone yet. He's 14, and I know most 14-year-olds can be home alone for a couple hours by themselves, but he's not quite there yet. But he also can cook. We've been doing weekly cooking classes at my house, and I teach him different life skills. There is no reason for him to still need to stay at home forever for the rest of his life. Like the couple of the doctors had said, primary care doctors didn't know what the hell they're talking about, saying, that he's going to have to live with his mom forever. No, nope. I give it, he might not move out at 18. He might move out like 21, 22, but he is fully capable of living 100% independently when he's older, because all he needed was to be given a chance. And I'll tell you right now, I cannot stand when somebody says, oh, they're autistic, they can't do that, because they can. They just need to be given those opportunities and somebody to be patient enough to sit down and talk with him, or talk with them, because it could be a girl too, either way, and help them. I actually got to meet Grant a few years ago. If you don't know who that is, please look her up. She's amazing. Her mom, back whenever she has a doctorate and she gives speeches and stuff, she is autistic. She was marked moderate to severe when she was little. Doctors, because it's way back, had tried to put her in a mental institution, told her that she was told the mom, oh, we should just lock her up for the rest of her life. She's never going to be able to do anything. And look at her now. She is She's got a doctorate. She goes around giving speeches, helping people. Her mom was the prime example of exactly what a mother of an autistic child should be, because her mom said, I'm not institutionalizing her. I'm not going to just throw her away. She will learn. She will be able to get it. And she did. She took a little bit longer, but her mom got her there. Sorry about that long tangent. I am very passionate about autism as an autistic person myself. But let's get back into the creepy GameStop stories that were told this week, including the peanut butter one. Oh my God. If you missed that story, to make it short, guy was jerking off into a jar of peanut butter repeatedly throughout his shift. His coworker kept smelling it on him, trying to figure out what happened. And then she ends up doing a bag check and sees that he has an open jar of peanut butter with a dick hole in it and cum coming out of it. I have a lot to say on this. Also, thank you for everyone who was like, how the commended me for being able to eat some of that Nerdy Nuts peanut butter while telling this story. I had gotten it for free, and I knew that was the perfect story to do my ad that I'm required to do with TikTok to do that. Most of the stuff I get for free on TikTok is for the domestic violence shelter. I always request samples of stuff that can help us. Like, I got those makeup vanities for free, and that company, actually, when I set it up, they saw that I was going to donate it to the domestic violence shelter, and they said, no, you keep that one, and then sent us several of them to go set up at the DV Center. These ladies are loving them. It is a night. We're still trying to work on, getting sponsorships for makeup, but I've also been getting some cheap stuff when I can on sale and whatnot. That way, these ladies can look and feel amazing and beautiful when they have to go to these interviews and go to court and everything. And also, sometimes they just need to pick me up. But I'll admit, the Nerdy Nuts one was just for me because it looked really good and I wanted to try it. So I did the sample. Also, a reminder, if you buy anything off of my TikTok shop, where it has my own shop and I get commissions, all of that commission goes to the domestic violence shelter. And if there's something that I don't have on there, let me know if you're planning on ordering it. I will add it to the shop for you to be able to order, just so I can get the commission for the DV Center. But let's get into this nastiness. So this man this had been going on for a while, but she had never done a bag check on him because he usually put his bag in the car. My question is, how are you that fucking horny at work that you have to jerk off multiple times? Because she said he would always smell like peanut butter when he came back from his 15-minute break and his lunch break, and always when he came in. And I'm like, and he's over coming in freaking peanut butter jars. My thing is, what is going on that you got a goon fap, whatever you want to call it, that often before work on your 15-minute lunch break, 15-minute regular break and your lunch break? You need the opposite of testosterone pills. You need anti-Viagra at that point. Jesus Christ. And if you don't know, this guy was also very sexist. He stunk to high hell. She said she could always smell him when he was coming in. He also would talk about how he never wanted to work with her because women shouldn't be in gaming, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, buddy, that's why you're having to jerk it into a peanut butter jar, because no real woman wants to be anywhere near your smelly, nasty incel ass. I also have a lot of questions of how many jars of peanut butter does he have at home? Is he just reusing the same one over and over again? Because she said there was a lot in there because he didn't have the lid on it. My thing is, why did you put a cum-filled peanut butter jar in your fucking backpack without the lid on it? That's nasty. What the hell? What is going through your fucking brain? As somebody in mental health research, I genuinely want to fucking know what's going on in your brain that you felt the need to do that. Did you watch American Pie too much? Get showed it at a young age and you just thought, oh yeah, we're just going to put our dicks in food now. And once again, how often is he reusing it? So we know that he's using it. We're pretty sure she said he only had one jar in there, which means he was using the same one throughout the whole day for his multiple gooning fapping sessions. So my question is, does he get a new jar every day, or does he just keep using it till it fills up? How does he know when to stop fucking the peanut butter jar? Is it a situation where he's like, oh, well, if it starts to come out and whenever I'm fucking it, maybe then I switch out the peanut butter jar? Or does he wait till it starts molding? What the fuck is going on with you, dude? My next question for him is, what kind of infection you got going on down there? Because if you're shoving, that's getting in your urethra and everything. If you don't know, that's your pee hole. That's got to be unsanitary. And if you don't know, men can, in fact, get yeast infections and UTIs. This guy's probably got everything under the sun. And I'm praying he's circumcised, because imagine if he's not circumcised, all the folds he's getting, that peanut butter in there. Because I've met a lot of men, when I worked in the trauma ER, we had a lot of men who would get infections and stuff because they were uncircumcised and weren't cleaning themselves properly because they didn't even know how to. I also pray that he does not have a dog, because when I was in high school, we had a guy. God, there was 2 incidents with the dog that happened when I was in high school. There was one girl who had got caught fucking her dog and putting it on BetLife. So she ended up getting kicked out of the school and had to go to another school and all this stuff, because the all of that went down. And sadly, she didn't even get charged with anything either, because in the state of West Virginia, I do not know if this is still accurate. But at the time, the law said if your dog weighed over, I think it was like 50 pounds or something like that, you were allowed to fuck it. That is absolutely fucking terrifying. But that was a real law. In West Virginia, if your dog was over a certain weight, I believe it was 50 pounds, you were completely legally allowed to fuck your dog, which is disgusting. Absolutely horrible. I remember one time I was driving and her dog had got loose, because she lived like a few minutes from me. I remember driving and seeing this dog standing out in the middle of the road and thinking, maybe it's asking me to hit it and put it out of its misery or something. I felt so bad. I did not hit the dog. I could never do that. But like, I kept looking at it like, this poor dog. I think he kept escaping. She kept constantly having to find him. He was constantly escaping, and I'm like, yeah, I wonder why. The poor dog looks so damn depressed. Like I said, in that moment, I kept thinking maybe I should put him down, end his misery, but I didn't, because I could never do that to a dog. But unfortunately, she was not the only incident. We had a guy who, he went around telling his buddies about this too, trying to convince them to try it also. He had a Labrador, which broke my heart, because I had a black lab at the time, and my current one of my 2 doggies now, Zelda, my service dog, is a Lab Shar-Pei mix, and he had literally fucking put peanut butter on his dick and had the dog get off, and was telling other guys, like other students, to do this. He's like, oh yeah, it feels so great if you can't get laid, like since these women don't want to do anything with us, which, first of all, there's a good reason nobody wanted to touch your shit, dude. Bro stunk to high hell. Like, I'm pretty sure that man showered like once a month, and it was not a situation where he was homeless or anything. I remember he lived in the nice neighborhood. I remember where his house was, because I went to a friend's house that was in that same neighborhood, and this guy just chose. Imagine, reminds me of Power Envy, if you don't know, the Roblox streamer guy that went viral from Houston, that freaking nasty, had the hoarders and pet roaches and everything. He literally got famous for being disgusting, and a lot of people thought it was a bit. But Power Envy, anybody who has met him like here in Texas can tell you that's not a bit. He really is that disgusting and gross. Like, it's so nasty. But yeah, this guy ended up getting suspended because he was going around telling people about it and giving them step-by-step instructions. You know who also gives step-by-step instructions for shit like this that is disgusting? Bad Dragon. If you don't know, now this is not a diss on their toys. There's actually multiple other toy companies. There's like Monster Lovers does them. That's one of my mutuals. Oh gosh, who's another one? Uber Prime is another company that's ethical and does, the monster toys like tentacles and stuff. But Bad Dragon, who initially started this whole like movement basically of those kind of toys, which is what a lot of people, they hear Bad Dragon and they think, of those toys. So when people go shopping for it, I always try to warn them, please never ever buy from them, because the owner is a zoophile who even had a website. I don't know if they managed to get it down or not, because people were trying to get it taken down. Had a website teaching you step-by-step instructions on how to fuck your pets. At this point, I'm actually waiting for Bad Dragon to send me a cease and desist for how much I've called them out, because, for example, at Hallmat a couple years ago, they had a Bad Dragon booth set up in the vendor hall. And I shit you not, they had somebody, so it was like a blackout curtain and stuff. That way, like, minors couldn't see it, and they check your ID before you went in. And what I did is every time we went into the vendor's hall, if I saw the security guard, like not security guard, but like the ID checker dude that worked for them was like inside and he wasn't around the line, because there'd always be a line to get in, I would go over and let people know. I was like, hey, they're a horrible company. Please don't shop from them. Not only that, they charge like triple what everybody else charges, because they're, the OG creators or whatever shit they want to call themselves. So they charge a lot more than any other place does, because they're a well-known name. You're paying for the name. And I'd tell people, hey, if you go 20 minutes down the road, there's the adult megaplex. It is a 3-story adult toy store, and they do have those kind of toys that they buy from, I believe it's called Uber Prime, which is an ethical company, because I've been in there before, and I love that store. I love raiding their clearance section. Not just, like, I have gotten some demonias for like $20 because they had too many in the same size. I've got my cool cosplay captain boots that everybody loves my heels of. They're They're actually pleaser heels that are usually like $150. I got them for like $30, plus they do a 10% military discount. Like, if you're ever at Hallmat, I promise you, as a kink educator, that because I teach kink education on the side for kink safety, so that couples can explore their fantasies in a safe, consensual way that's not going to end them up in the emergency room. Because once again, working in a trauma ER, I saw that plenty of times. Please stop sticking things where they don't belong, or in what they don't, but stop sticking your dick in things too, or putting incense sticks and lighting them while they're using it as a sounding mark. If you don't know, that's where a man will put something in his penis, in his urethra. That's what sounding is. And we had a guy who came in because he burned himself because he put a incense stick in his urethra and then lit it. But if you are a consenting adult and you are going to Hallmat and you have no shame, because I promise you I'm not going to tell your business or anything like that, but if you go over there and you want a military discount and I'm at Hallmat that year, just hit me up. I have no problem going with. I always end up with like a group of people I go with so they can all get my military discount because I'm 100% disabled veteran. And once again, like I said, I've used some of these pieces for cosplay. You don't have, or even Halloween costumes too. You don't have to, just buy the dirty stuff. Just make sure you're following SSC, safe, sane, and consensual. I'm going to tell you right now, peanut butter jar or an animal cannot consent. Don't be nasty. Another GameStop story that got sent in to me was not actually about GameStop. It was about a plob in a church, if you missed that one, which was the guy who had purposely shit himself in the church and refused to go clean himself up, and was, whenever they did, because it was a Southern Baptist church, I believe, is what she said, he was like going around and shaking people's hand and like hugging them and stuff. He purposely shit his pants and did this. And this is proof that these people are doing this I'm pretty sure they have like a fetish or something for it. A lot of people pointed that out in the comments, being like, this guy has to have a fetish or something, because there's some of them, like I said, the Target guy, if you didn't see that story I told about, the Target guy who had went to get Pokemon cards and shit his pants while standing there looking at them 10 feet from the freaking bathroom and refused to go clean himself up. And there actually is a fetish for that. So I'm convinced some of these guys just have this fetish and they're trying to force it on other people by shitting their pants and not wiping their ass and stuff, or pissing themselves over Pokemon cards. If you haven't seen that video, I did post a video of a guy who was literally standing outside. He was a Pokemon card scalper who was front of the line, and he didn't want to lose his spot in line, so he pissed himself right there in the line. You could see him do it. It is beyond disgusting. Now that is crazy scalper behavior, but the other guys, the Easter special plob, that was it in that church, I'm convinced it's a fetish. Honestly, I think it should be labeled as a freaking act of terrorism at this point, because you're terrorizing everybody's noses around you and ruining their experience. I also talked about Motley Crue recently. That video is still blowing up. If you don't know, I have a friend's mom. So many people kept being like, show us your mom. Your mom's crazy. And then accusing me of being a Motley Crue child and saying that, like, I had the same features as Vince and Tommy and stuff. And I'm like, no, it clearly says my friend's mom, my auntie, is the one that slept with all of Motley Crue when she was 15, and was telling us about it when we were young, which was still like, girl, I understand why she was telling us about it, because she was trying to warn us when we went to Multifest in Charleston, to like, that a lot of these guys are predators. But they are the original plobs in a way. If you don't know, two members of Motley Crue, Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee, decided to have a stank off, which is where for 2 months they did not bathe. So they made this bet to see how long they could go without bathing to get and still get women to sleep with them. It was a whole thing. They were performing pretty frequently. They were traveling on the road. This is back before like a lot of the buses had nice AC and stuff. So they're sweaty, they're stinking, they've got dick cheese, everything else going on. Nasty funk. People that were around back then said you could smell them at the concerts and stuff, and like at the meet and greet, you could smell them at the back of the lines and stuff. It was really gross, but it was so bad that at one point, and women were still hooking up with them. You all gotta stop. You all gotta stop throwing out your standards the second that somebody's famous. I don't care how famous you are, okay? No. Hell no. Like, I love Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. They are both big celebrity crushes. And also, I don't want to hear the bullshit about, oh, but Samuel Jackson's over 70. I don't give a shit, okay? I'm going to fulfill every single fantasy of that man's until he died happy from a freaking heart attack. I don't care that he is old. Samuel L. Jackson is hot, okay? Same with Ryan Reynolds. But If they came to me and was like, "Oh, I'll sleep with you, but I haven't showered in like 2 or 3 days," immediate no, get your ass in the shower or it ain't happening. But there's so many people who just let that shit go. It got so bad with the stink off with Motley Crue that a girl went to suck off, she went to blow Nikki Sixx, and she blew chunks of her spaghetti that she had had earlier that night all over him because he smelled that bad. It was that disgusting, okay? She was the OG mom's spaghetti before Eminem existed. Well, that sums up the GameStop stories and plop stories that we had this week. Let's jump into the next topic, which is the Dommy Peggy Sue story. So, if you did not see the video, during Austin Kink Weekend, they were doing different shows and stuff. And one of the dominatrix, because I've had two bosses, really awkward situation. If you haven't seen the other video, I had similar situation with my old first sergeant, who was super sexist, super against women in power, didn't like women in the military. He was, I was attached to a combat unit. He was very upset that there was 13 born females in the unit. And I say born females because there are 3 trans people that came out of that unit, including a first sergeant who transitioned into a woman at the end of his career, which the way he was treated was absolute bullshit. People were assholes because that man did several tours. I think he did 8 altogether. He had been to both Iraq and Afghanistan. He was an amazing leader. People looked up to him. People loved him. All the guys would talk about how amazing he was and all his awards and everything. Like, the guy literally had a Purple Heart, and everybody loved him until he came out that he was now a she and was going to be transitioning to a woman, and suddenly everybody was just calling him a tranny and calling him slurs and didn't respect him anymore, which was so freaking disgusting to watch. But, like I said, my first sergeant, who was different, he was super sexist, super misogynistic. Women shouldn't be in combat. Women shouldn't be in the military and all, blah, blah, all this shit. The only reason I even got the tiniest bit of respect for him is because I always maxed out my PT scores by the male standard. This is back before they cut off it, like, because it used to be you could get over a 300. Now, no matter how many you do, you only get a 300 once you hit the max. But I was teaching a kink class, and see a guy get walked in on leash by this very short dominatrix in a full gimp suit, and takes the mask off, and I realize it's my old first sergeant. The irony, this man over here getting walked on a leash by this short little woman, and completely, she was very much completely in control. You could tell by the things she said and did. She was in control of him. And I just found it the most ironic thing ever. I deserve an Oscar for being able to sit still and not laugh and not say anything because he didn't recognize me because I was, out of uniform years later, and had makeup on. But my old boss, my other old boss, that from working in mental health research, I had done a study under him, who was also super misogynistic, sexist dude. He always thought that all women should just be traditional wives and stay at home, and the women shouldn't be allowed to work. He would not let women talk at conferences and stuff. He constantly took credit for anything a woman discovered in that study, because he was the head of it, and just would not give them credit, but always give the men credit. Yeah, he was at Austin Kink Weekend, and with a dominatrix. And what I think is even funnier is I recently got a message from him. So he had found out that I knew who he was and everything, and found out that he was into that. And this man who had harassed me for the entire, the whole time, and I don't mean sexually harassed, just constantly shitting on me because I don't have something swinging between my legs. And he thought that I should be a stay-at-home wife and all that stuff. Yeah, he DM'd me after he found out that I knew his little dirty secret and was trying to get me to dominate him. He sent me a nice long message about how he would pay me to piss in his mouth. He also wanted me to put him in a cock cage. Bitch, the only cage you should be is a damn prison cage for your fucking assholery. I know that being an asshole is technically not a crime, but sometimes it should be. And the fucking hypocrisy, you never let me speak at lectures or anything. You took credit for any work I discovered. And then you're now finding out that I'm a dommy and you're over here trying to fucking pay me to piss in your mouth? I kind of want to do it for free just because you piss me off. I'm not even into the bathroom related. I'm not into water sports, but I kind of want to piss on you just for being a fucking asshole. I will not be going through with that though, just so you guys know. I can't. No, I cannot. I don't want to be around that man at all. Plus, he was only offering me $100 for it, and $100 to do something that detail. Yeah, no. We're getting towards the end of this podcast, so let's go ahead and jump into the fandom safety. So I tell a lot of these stories that are follower submissions. I tell a lot of stories that I've experienced. I used to have a professional cosplay. I still have it up, technically, playlist of professional cosplay nightmares and stuff, which I do not involve myself in the online stuff because there's too much drama. I've had people dox me. I've had people make up shit. I've had the manipulation. I cannot deal with the talk. There are so many chomos too, talking to underage fans and all that shit. But I still do cosplay professionally a couple times a year. I don't do it full time anymore, but I'll do modeling work for like an ad or something or a campaign. Like I said, still got that one that's up, that the My Hero one that I strongly regret. But I still do them a couple times a year. I've been to a couple hundred conventions between anime and comic book conventions. I used to date a semi-pro Magic Gathering player, so I've been to tournaments and everything. I have been in this space since the day I was born. My parents made me my first cosplay, I think I was like 6 months old. And I would like to remind everybody that fandom space is massive. Yes, there's a lot of pieces of shit, a lot of these people that I tell stories about and stuff that are gross and ruin those spaces. It's one of the reasons why I came up with the word plob, and we talk about it so much so that hopefully we can bully them into not being nasty, disgusting creatures that ruin fandom. Because bullying a normal person is wrong. But trying to bully somebody into being a decent person, I don't see a problem with that. Because a lot of them continue to have this bad behavior because people condone it and nobody calls them out on it, so they feel justified. They think, well, nobody's calling me out on it, so there's nothing wrong. Or they get this mindset that the only people that are calling them out are like jocks and stuff, so they'll think, oh, well, they're just hating on me because I'm a nerd. No, that is not it. It's because you're nasty. Which is why I bring up the fact that fandom space is massive. I promise you there are nice, amazing people out there that don't ruin fandom space. Please, I've seen so many people leave these comments about how they, women talking about how they can't play Magic the Gathering or D&D because of everybody being toxic and the guys being sexist and the incels and the plobs and the neckbeards and the crazy Discord moderators. Please don't give up on your hobbies. There are amazing groups and safe spaces within fandom space. One of my biggest red flags I tell people to look out for is if somebody says that that fandom space is small, run. That is one of the biggest red flags, because either one, they have no fucking idea what they're talking about, don't even know anything about fandom space, or two, they are a bad person themselves and are lying to try to trap you or gatekeep you. The reason why some of these people end up in these cults and bad toxic friend groups and stuff within fandom is because they have been convinced that fandom space is a small space and they're not going to be able to find anybody else to hang out with or to talk about these hobbies and enjoy them with. But that is not true. You can find a new group the very next day. Do not stay in these toxic, crazy, fandom bad groups. Or once again, I've seen some of them who will be like, oh, well, fandom space is so small. That's why, I kicked this person out in cancel culture and blah, 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 blah. Girl, shut the fuck up, okay? Because somebody can go find, you might kick them out because they didn't do something that you like or to your liking, or you try to bully somebody out of space. Just go find a new one, because there are good people out there. As I said, please, if anybody says that fandom space is small, they're a bad person. They are a narcissist that is trying to, or some other piece of shit, type of piece of shit, that is trying to manipulate you into thinking that it's a small space so they can be toxic, or so they can pretend like they know everything. I've met one of those. I've got videos of one whose wife even freaking bragged, if you haven't seen that one, wife bragged about teaching them her, I'm not sure because they changed their pronouns. There was a point where I'd showed the video of their wife admitting on camera to using their psych degree to teach them mental, psychology manipulation techniques to use on their followers. And that's when they changed their pronouns the very next day and then said I was misgendering them and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. I saw the screenshot of where your pronouns were this whenever I did it. So you're just trying to change the topic so that you don't have to address, what you've done. And another big one that I tell people to red flag to look out for is the know-it-alls, the people that try to act like they know every single thing, that bully people. That if somebody is consistently talking shit about other people, like specific people, you may want to look into it, because there's one thing to talk about like follower stories and experiences you've had, but if someone is constantly targeting people making these videos where it's always people that are making similar videos to them, be on the lookout. Another thing is, if anybody ever says don't go look up the context or don't go see the original and they're showing you like a cropped video or a cropped screenshot, run. There's people toxic within fandom who'll do that and change the narrative and manipulate people. They'll play sweet and innocent and be like, oh, look at me, I'm just a sweet little white girl, look, and then crop a video or whatever the case may be, change the context of it. They'll tell people, go block this person, don't go look them up, because they don't want you to see the actual context. That is a big red flag to look out for. Anybody that is telling you not to go look at the context or not go see the whole thing or only show you a certain clip and not the full video or text or whatever the situation may be, run. That is a toxic manipulator. Another thing to look out for is elitists. Anybody who is, they only play with people or they only follow people that have a certain amount of followers, more than them or around them, or if they're a certain rank in a game, any kind of elitism, run. I'm telling you right now, I've got almost 1,000 mutuals, and I have people who only have 50 followers, and I have people who have several million followers and are verified. Because I like meeting other people with similar interests. If I like their content, I don't care what size the following they have. I'm going to follow them. But there are a lot of elitists who, if they're saying, oh, I'm only going to follow big people, run. If they only mutual and follow big people, run. There's a lot of people within video game fandom like this too, where they only play with people who have high levels. For example, Destiny is really bad about it. I have an ex-situationship that I could do a whole story time on. That level of toxic he was with Destiny 2. I've met League of Legends players like that. I've met World of Warcraft players like that. If somebody is being like, oh, you have to show me your stats before we can be friends, that's not a good friend. Run. Another one to look out for, which I talked a little bit about earlier, is anybody who is only one character per person kind of thing. So like if you join a group and your favorite character is someone and they're like, oh no, we already have somebody that likes that person in our group, so you can't be in our group. No. Multiple people can like the same character. That is so insanely toxic. Because I've had people go crazy in the My Hero fandom over that kind of stuff. And I don't care. You could have 50 of the same character, everybody be a fan of the same character, and that is perfectly fine. I love other Shigaraki simps. We'll send each other videos and fan fictions and everything. When there's new releases of different merch, we'll send it to each other. There's no reason why you can't share. If someone's like, oh, I like this character, so you can't like this character too, run. That's a toxic person. What is that thing that the blonde lady, I can't think of her name, she's like, see that toxic person? We're walking the other way. Follow that. Follow her little jingle. Some green flags to look out for if you're trying to find a safe space within fandom space is look for places like game stores and card shops who have hygiene rules and have anti-misogyny rules. I absolutely adore Gamers Heaven. I am actually mutuals with them, and I am planning on in a few years franchising my own Gamers Heaven. Right now, I am still working to try to just monetize on YouTube to be able to open a local Battle Buddies chapter for veterans in need, because all my money on TikTok goes to the DV shelter. So I'm hoping that I can start learning and working on the YouTube side of things so that I can make money on there to be able to open up a local Battle Buddies center for veterans in crisis, because our area is one of the biggest for veterans, and I've had people that have been part of the 22 a day. I actually still have the uniform from finding my friend who succumbed to survivor's grief from when I found him, because I was never able to throw away that uniform because it has his blood on it. And I even have volunteered at the crisis center, the local one that we have here for the VA, and it is absolute dog shit. But once I get that set up, then I am going to start saving to be able to franchise a Gamers Heaven. They have so many amazing rules to keep these spaces friendly and accepting and welcoming. There's a lot of small card shops and stuff that have these now too. I've done a video on how we convinced a guy who was an owner to make these hygiene rules and everything for his game store through my stories, because he saw all of the comments of people talking about how, yeah, these are disgusting people. That's why I don't shop in person anymore and I only shop online. And he realized, yeah, it's costing him some business to have those nasty blobs there. The last red flag that I want to warn people about when looking at safety is anybody who doesn't want to give you their name or is extremely guarded about their name. So I understand public safety and things like that. You don't want, get doxxed or whatever. But I have seen some people who will have no problem doxing other people. They'll put everybody's information out there, but then they get super guarded about their own. I had one in particular who I could go on and on about all the piece of shit stuff they do and all the screen recordings and stuff, but there was one in particular who I ended up finding out was dating a registered sex offender and had charges of their own. And when they found out that I found out, they went around telling people, oh my gosh, like, Ribbon's trying to out my name, and just started making up lies and edits of me and shit, which I never posted their name or anything like that. But the reason why they were trying to pretend like they were so scared of me and they didn't want anybody to find out their legal name is because they didn't want people to find out by doing a background search and checking and finding out they are a registered sex offender. And they're also dating one. That's why they didn't want their name out there. And they also, they'll tell people, oh, go report it if anybody posts my name. Yeah, it's not because they're worried about safety. It's because they're a pedo and they don't want people finding out about it. But they do a real good job at, forcing themselves to fake cry on camera and pretend like they're a victim. So please look out for people like that. If somebody is like real sketchy, and I'm not saying they need to post their name on publicly on social media, but if you're friends with somebody and they won't tell you their real legal name, like, you're like, I'm not trying to call you that or anything. I just want to make sure it's a safe person to be around. They're refusing to give it to you for whatever reason. Run. There's definitely some sus shit that they are hiding, because there's no reason your friend, like a real friend, can't have your name. That's suspicious. Another tip is if you're ever at an event and you do get into an unsafe situation, if you ever see me and my friend group, please come up to me and pretend like if a guy's being creepy or something, or a girl or whatever, you can't get him to get away, please come up to me. Tournament, event, public space, whatever. Come up to me. I will pretend to be your mom, your sister, your brother, your dad, your uncle, your husband, whoever I need to pretend to be. I have had to do that, sadly, multiple times in the years I've been going to conventions. I have had situations where people will run up to me and they're like, oh yeah, this is my mom, or this is my sister, or this is my dad, or whoever. And I'm like, yep, yes I am. Go the fuck away, whoever the guy is. And we've had to like get guys to go off. It's another reason why I tell people, please do not walk around cons by yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've adopted people. Like, we'll be walking around, it'll be somebody that went to a convention by themselves because they didn't have anybody to go with, and suddenly now they're with our group. I'm just like, okay, you come with me, you're my new adopted friend. But if at all possible, please try not to be alone at cons, because there are some creeps. I've even had to do it myself. I met one of my friends that way exactly. We were at, ironically, MomoCon in 2019, and I've still got the picture of this. There was a guy, a photographer, who was being really creepy and uncomfortable. I was dressed as a dark magician girl. He would not leave me alone. He would not take no for an answer. The rest of my friends were not up yet. Like, I had gone and everybody else was still asleep. And I ended up seeing somebody that I knew off of TikTok. I had just joined TikTok 3 days before. I had joined it the first day of con because people convinced me. I never had Musical.ly or Vine or anything like that. And I remember seeing them, and like I ran over and was like, hey, I love your TikTok, and all this stuff, trying to get away from, and was able to get away from that guy because of that person. One of my last safety tips is going to be, please don't ever room with a stranger either. That is becoming a very common thing. I see it all of the time on like the Discords and the Facebook groups and stuff, of people being like, oh, does anybody have more room in their hotel room or anything? And they're just going to like, or people will be like, oh, we need more people for our hotel room so we can split the cost. And then they're just going to go stay with a complete stranger that they've never met. Please don't ever do that. You could end up in a really bad situation, a very unsafe situation, or end up with like the Sharpie situation, with where they destroyed the hotel room and now you're partially responsible, or you get kicked out, or you get stuff stolen from you, or once again, bad situations. You are alone in a room with strangers. Please don't ever do that. No convention is worth your safety. If it's a situation where you can't find somebody to share a room with, and you can't afford it, get a cheaper hotel. Maybe don't go at all. Your safety is not worth it. Your life is worth way more than a convention, and you could end up losing it by rooming with a complete stranger, or get assaulted, get stolen from, whatever the case may be. Please do not stay with strangers. Like I said, fandom space is massive. You can just Google it. If you Google how many people attended conventions last year in the US alone, it's millions of people, and that doesn't include tournaments and Pokemon events and special events and grand openings and whatever side events, or the millions of other people that just don't go to cons or events. Fandom space has millions and millions of people in the US alone. I promise you can find some great people out there. It might take a little while. You might find some duds. Don't be afraid to cut those people off and go find a healthy relationship with people in fandom space and have these healthy friendships. There are so many amazing people out there that would support. Like I said, my group of Shigaraki Simps and Spinner Simps will literally send each other fanfictions and videos and stuff, because nobody should be competing or doing horrible things to people just because you like the same character. That's insane. That is it for this night's episode. That's a conclusion of episode 2. Once again, I am going to figure out how to set up a steady schedule. I want to get it so that I am posting at least 2 a week. I don't know what days yet. It'll probably be like Mondays and Wednesdays, maybe. I'm not sure. I will have another one later this week. I'm not sure what date yet, but I'm going to set up. I'm learning all of this stuff to be able to schedule things for you guys. I also want to be able to have guests. I found a service that I could do digital guesting, and I want it to be real people, not just famous people. I can't stand when, like, we're talking about stories and, podcasters only have other big podcasters or whoever on their podcast. I want to have followers, and I want to have regular people. I want to hear other GameStop employees, experiences and stuff, and let them tell their story, and let everyday people get to enjoy this space and get to tell their stories, because so many don't. It's usually just, the big creators and stuff. I will say that one famous person I do want on there is Drew. If you don't know who Drew is, she, not the guy, not the plob guy, but the girl that like roasts men all the time. Could you imagine me and her in the same room, just looking at some of these messages of these plobs and like reading from that incel, that group of incels that has their little hate group against me? We would have a blast. We could definitely roast them to another level. We could roast these men so hard that Satan got freaking jealous of how hot it was. But once again, I don't know really anything about this kind of stuff. So I will learn. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out how to schedule stuff. I'm going to try to make it on days that other like big creators and stuff don't post, because I know like everybody comes out with stuff on Saturday and Sunday, and I am just this little person doing this. So I don't want to be doing it on a big day, because I know a lot of people are going to want to watch as big creators. So I'm going to be that person that kind of like fills in the gap during the week when you're waiting on the big creators to come out with their super cool, well-edited podcasts. And as always, I am a Kindle with interchangeable accessories for their pleasure. Stay safe, wipe your ass, wear deodorant, shower, please take care of yourself, and please don't give up on your hobbies and your passions and things that you love because of pieces of shit with plobs within the fandom and toxic people and all of, narcissistic BS. There are safe, amazing people out there.